Hello. How's it going? Um, I was trying to make a video earlier, but it was like 9 minutes of me saying the same thing over and over again. I realized I didn't really actually have all my thoughts in order before I started the video, but I think I can say this more succinctly and more focused if I have an idea of where I want this to go. Basically, I know there's so many things to focus on in the world right now. But one thing in particular that I wanted to talk about was the Cyberpunk 2077 delay. Now, this is a game that I wasn't really too hyped about. I mean, I thought it looked cool. I do love Cyberpunk aesthetic. I love Blade Runner as like a concept and as like a world to like, you know, have a video game in, like that type of like cyberpunk aesthetic, obviously. But my hype for it kind of died down when I heard that it was only first person, so I just never really paid attention to it after that. But there are some people who I would assume have devoted their entire lives to it, so much so to send actual real life death threats to developers over the game's delay. So, for those uninitiated, Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to come out mid to late November. I think November 19th, because they said it was going to get delayed by 3 weeks, which would be 21 days, which lines up with the new December 10th release date. And so this is after the Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter was talking about how there's not going to be any more delays. This is it. It's going to come out in November. And then it didn't. People who have already pre-ordered the game have already requested time off for it. It's an event. A lot of people care about this game. It's a big release. It is, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. It is Grand Theft Auto 5. And I realize both of those are Rockstar games, but you know, it's to the same it's that caliber of like video game. It's one of those things, right? It's like if Halo 3 came out all over again. That type of thing. Um, and when people found out about the delay, there were a lot of varying receptions to it. Some people were more reasonable with it and said, okay, look, um, whatever, just come out with a game. But there are some people who went so far as to not only be disappointed in the game's delay, but going so far as to send actual real life death threats to the game developers, which is abhorrently ridiculous and paints such a bad look on the entire video game community. This this medium is so fresh, so new. It is not established at all. Um, and for the world to constantly be reminded that the video game people are a shit, then it just sucks to be part of it, you know. And again, I started this video saying that there are so many things to focus on right now in 2020, but this is just something that I woke up to like this morning because I remember they announced a delay. I think like a day or two ago that the Cyberpunk 2077 was gonna get delayed. I said okay, and then all the memes came out of like Cyberpunk Forever or Cyberpunk coming out in 2077. And I was like, haha, that's funny. But I didn't know that. I don't know why, because this is not really an isolated incident. If, like, when a game gets delayed, there's gonna be a lot of backlash to it. And I'm sure they understood this when they announced it, which is why they released a whole paragraph saying, you know, we hope you guys understand, blah, blah, blah. If it was just the norm, if they weren't worried about this, they wouldn't have said anything. But clearly, there was some issue with it, so that's why they released a press statement. And I don't have it on hand with me right now, but basically it amounts to, sorry, we're gonna need to delay the game because we need more time to get it working on next gen systems as well as current gen systems and PC, which is entirely reasonable. Uh, like I feel like 3 weeks is actually too short of a time if you're working on all that shit. I feel like maybe you should take a little bit more, but they might risk having their actual building burnt to the ground. From what I've been reading on Twitter, the messages that developers are getting are to the effect of, I will burn your entire family down if you don't release this game. And it is intense. It is such an intense reception to a video game that how can you possibly be this attached to it? You know what I mean? Like, like Kingdom Hearts 3, like I've been a fan of Kingdom Hearts for like a really, really long time. When it got announced back in like 2015, 2016, and then it didn't come out for like until 2019, uh, I was like anxious about its release, but when it got delayed from December to January, I didn't feel the burning hatred or the need to like burn Square Enix down to the ground because of it. I just said, okay, look, I've already waited 4 years for it, not 15 like people keep saying. I didn't wait 15 years for a game that didn't get announced until like 4 years before it came out. Um, I can wait a few more weeks for it. It's that simple. And I don't know. I just think it sounds really stupid for that reaction for death threats to be like a default reaction to video game delays. I know it's a quote that gets thrown around all the time, and I don't 100% agree with it, but I do in this case. It's a quote by Shigeru Miyamoto, which I'm sure people from the video game industry have heard a lot of times already, which is that a game that is rushed will forever be bad. A game that is delayed has the potential to be good. I don't know if I have that quote 100% correctly, but it's a sentiment that if you get the game out now, it's gonna suck. But if you give it more time to cook in the oven, it has the potential to be better. And that quote, the reason why that quote doesn't really hold a lot of ground these days is because games these days, games these days can just get updated, over time, which is the norm these days, which is stupid, but it is the norm these days. And I think that there's very few things to warrant death threats over in video games. I take that back. There's nothing in the video game industry that is worth sending death threats to actual developers of the video game. There certainly is a lot of things that is worth boycotting, like loot boxes and all that nightmare fiasco that continues to happen to this day. But actual real life death threats threatening the lives of like people that just work here as an employee at CD Projekt Red, the people who are getting crunched, um, talking to them as if they are hitting a button that says "Do not release game now." I think it just paints like a very, uh, what do you call it, uninformed uh, view of video game development. Because the other camp that, the other response to this was, okay, 3 weeks. I know a lot of people will hate it, but at the very least, they can loosen up on the crunch, which I disagree with the statement as well. Because, first of all, 3 weeks does not mean that everyone who had the belt tied around their neck is suddenly now able to breathe. It doesn't mean that belt is getting tighter either. It just means that that belt will be there for just a little bit longer. They're not getting crunched any less because they were given extra time. They were given extra time because they had more shit to do. So the justification for the crunch and justification for the delay is kind of an extension of a justification for the crunch, which I know is not the message they are trying to convey, but do understand that is exactly what is happening here. There's so many allegations, and also the responses from 3D Projekt talking about how, labor laws in Poland are different. And sure, but you should probably treat people a little bit better, even despite the laws. Just because you can get away with it doesn't mean you should. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But I don't know. 3 weeks, I think you can live. I don't know how many release dates have been attached to Cyberpunk 2077. The only one that I heard of was back in like August or something like that. Or whatever. It was supposed to come out earlier this year or last year. So I think for it to come out in November, I think was the first or the second delay. And for it to get extended out to December, it's just another one of those delays. I think the people that are sending death threats should just be glad that it's coming out within the same year as opposed to not, And for those that are okay with the fact that they're delaying it for 3 weeks because they think the crunch is lessening, I want you to think about it a bit more critically in terms of like video game development. That's not how video game development works. They just had more added to their plate, which is why they're having to need the extra time, because they're publishing the game. They have their own, you know, they have their own timetable for it, so they can release it anytime they want. That's perfectly fine with them. Polish up the game before it comes out. Um, but I don't know. I think that's the end of my. I think that's the end of my statement. I guess I want to close this off on a little anecdote, in terms of like games getting delayed, and like why 3 weeks is not that long of a time. Why 3 weeks is not that bad. Um, I'd been playing PS4 on my sister's PS4, and so when I finally bought my own system, I wanted a game to go along with it, and I didn't really have a lot of money back then because I was about to buy a new console. Um, and so I wanted to buy something long form, something that would last me a while. So I bought P5. I bought Persona 5. And that game lasted me, I want to say 6 weeks, a month and a half at the very least. I know I didn't play anything for a really long time when I bought it. And I played it nonstop. I clocked in just above 100 hours. It was my first Persona game. Clocked in just about 100 hours, maybe 130 hours. And I beat it, and then I bought two more games right after that. I bought Nier Automata, and I bought Final Fantasy 15. And these were two games that have already come out. Final Fantasy 15 was about to go into its second year of DLC releases, which ended up getting canceled, like literally the week after I bought the game, so that was cool. But I played Nier. I played it up to its story conclusion. I didn't finish absolutely everything in the game, but I finished the main story. Um, as for Final Fantasy 15, it's just always kind of floated in my storage space. I would always constantly install it and then uninstall it and then install it again and then uninstall it. And I still haven't played much of it. And I bought that game like close to 3 or 4 years ago. And what I'm saying here is that um, I can wait. That's the gist of what I'm trying to get across. Is that it might seem like you really want this game right now, but when it comes out, um, it's just gonna be another game that once you're done with it, you're gonna put down. Like I haven't played Nier ever since I beat it like 2 or 3 years ago, and I have not even picked up FF15. You know, I think that it's just a waste of your time and energy, and you could be playing other games in the meantime while you wait for Cyberpunk to come out. Or maybe it'll get delayed again, and maybe you can get angry about that too. But there's not a single part of this story that warrants actual real life death threats to CD Projekt. Maybe some more scrutiny based on their practices with like video game development in terms of crunching their developers only to get the game delayed again. Maybe. But other than that, death threats are just a dumb way to go about it. It's childish. It makes the rest of the video game community look childish. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. It just looks bad on you, looks bad on everyone else. So cut that shit out. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching or listening to this. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to say something just because it was the first thing that I saw this morning, and I just, spending the whole day formulating my thought on it. And yeah, I hope this made sense. Till next time. Bye bye.